Hello, and in this first workshop, we're going to create a value poster. We are going to use a little bit of Adobe, and we're also going to use Google's AI Studio. So we're going to create a value poster with a sort of a logo and a word that is textured to represent some value from the brand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the design elements, and for that we're going to use Illustrator. So I will just go into Illustrator, which looks like this, and like any other Adobe programs, there's a lot of things here in the beginning. I have a lot of files that I've been working on, but the only thing you need to concern yourself about right now is creating a new file. And then inside the new file, you get to choose between different sizes. You can click on print, and then you can select A4. It's not all that important right now, but for this case here, just do what I do, and then everything will be fine. So everything over here decides something about the document, but we're not really going to worry about that. We're just going to say create. Now we have a totally blank document, and if yours doesn't look exactly like mine, it's probably because I've opened some menus that you haven't. But every time you get into a situation like this with an Illustrator that is somebody else has opened or is something you can't find or whatever, it's always a good idea to go back to something that you know already. And in my case, I will go into Window, then I will click Workspace, and I will click Essentials. Now mine is actually already set to Essentials, but I've still moved some stuff around, so I need to go down here and say Reset Essentials. And if you do this, you'll have a setting that looks exactly like this. Over here, you have different tools, and if you hover over a tool, you'll see that it gives you a guide on what it is. Don't worry too much about that right now. You will go through all of these tools later on in this class. Over here, we have what is called a contextual menu, which means that it will change depending on what we're sort of working with. And this here is a quick menu, a new element in Illustrator, one that we can move around. We can even close it or keep it away if we want to, but for me, I'll just keep it open here so that I can do stuff with it. The first thing I want to do is I want to create a logo, or a logo placeholder rather. So I will go in here and I will just press this square button here. You could just press generate and then it will use the whole screen as an area, but it's always a little bit better to actually sort of mark an area and say this is the size of whatever logo it is that I'm going to generate. I'm going to make this one because I want mine to be square. And then I can do it a little bit different ways. I could press generate vectors here. I can also press generate vectors here. It's all going to be the same. So if this one, for instance, was closed and you couldn't find that menu, you can always find it over here under properties. So I will just press generate vectors, and now I get to type in a prompt that describes my vector logo. In this case here, I will actually go to the mirror board, and I will just go and check and see if there wasn't a description of something in here. So the brand that we're using here is Northerly, and if you go and look under here under verbal and visual identity, you'll see that there is something about let's see, logo minimalist with a design that may incorporate. So I could go in here and check, take this text, press Command C, go in here in Illustrator and press Command V, and now I have the description exactly as it says on the Illustrator board. Now you don't have to do this exactly as it says. For instance, it does say may incorporate natural symbols, so I could just put in some of them. I'm just going to let the full one be here, but feel free to experiment with this whatever you want to make it a little bit different than everybody else's. So the next thing is I'm going to choose from what it is I want to do. Do I want to create a scene? Do I want to create a subject or a character? Or do I want to create an icon? And I'm just going to press icon here. Then I'm also going to look at this slide detail here. So if I was to create something like with no detail, It would probably be something like this one, for instance, with a few details. I could also choose the maximum one and get something like this or this that is highly detailed. I could also go and look for style references. If I wanted to sort of have it look like something else, I could look at other things. But now I'm just going to press generate. So when you have an Adobe subscription, it will actually allow you to generate things with AI. And every time you generate something, of course, it does cost you a credit. However, I think for mine, I have maybe 1,000 credits or something like that, so it's not really that important. Now, I actually really like this logo here, and I think I'm just going to use this one. I could choose between these other versions here, depending on what I wanted. So let's just say, actually, no, I like this one better, actually. So I like this logo here. And what I want to do now is I just want to make it so that this is just a line art logo. I don't want the green here. I think this is disturbing a little bit, and it will also influence whatever I'm doing afterwards. So I would just like to remove that. Now, right now, as you can see here, there is this blue thing here that says this is still an AI generation, which also means that I can just generate another set of icons if I wanted to, or I could choose the other ones. I'm just going to let this run through. But as long as it is a live object like this, and you'll see this with other types of graphics inside Illustrator as well, it will be a live document, and that means that you can't change anything in it because it's still sort of referring to this AI procedure here. But if I go down in my contextual menu here, you'll see that there is an option to say generative expand or ungroup or whatever. If I say generative expand, actually that's not the one I want. That's if I want it to be bigger, so I don't want that one. I'll just press back here, and then I'll say the ungroup one. And as soon as I ungroup, this icon disappears. It's no longer an AI subject, but what I can do is I can click on different subjects here and I can remove them. So if I click on this one, for instance, it's the line art. Might not be this in yours, but try and work around it. So I will just remove this green piece here, and now this is my logo. So I also want to have a value word, and I'll just go and look and see here. There is probably some words in here: value, sustainability, transparency, quality, craftsmanship, sourcing, organic. Okay, so I think I'll use the word organic. Press Command C, and I'll just go in here and I'll press the T tool for type. And if I press the Command V, I can insert the word here. And if I drag it like this, holding down the Shift key, by the way, so that it keeps the size here, I can move around with the word organic. Now, I don't really like this font here, so I will check another one. And for this particular exercise, I would like a sort of a fat style. And I'll just look for one here. There is, for instance, this one here. I just want to make sure that it's one that you also have, just in the case that you want to use this. So I will use this. I will also, in this case here, I will actually go and check this, and I just want to say that this also should be, I can check this one off, all caps, and now it's just this word here. I actually just want to go in and make this, no, actually this is fine as it is. Maybe I could just make it a little bit taller like this. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to create this in a 3D version. So I'm going to make it look like it's actually it exists in a 3D space. And to do that, I just need to do some small changes. First thing is I just want to change the color. As long as I have this one selected, I can click on the fill color here, and I can, for instance, choose a light gray. And the reason for that will be apparent in a short while. So the next thing is I'm going to click under Effects. And under Effects, we have something called 3D and Materials. And I will just click this one called Extrude and Bevel. And it immediately extrudes the word here. And it sort of makes this 3D version. It's still actually a live document. So I can go in here, click on the text, and change the spelling if I want to. But right now, I don't want to do that. I can also go in and change different things. So for instance, the depth of the word, whether it's twisted, you can also play around with this. But for right now, I just want this pretty much as it is. One thing though is I do want to change the perspective a little bit because I think it looks a little bit weird. So I will just do something like this. And now my word is kind of looks okay, actually, I think. So I'm just going to, again, hold down Shift and sort of make it be here in the bottom of the page. It's not really that important. But now I have this word here that I'm going to change. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this word here, and what I could do is I could export it through Illustrator, but actually it's in this case, it's actually easier if you just want to have an image of something. You can just press Shift Command 4, and on a Mac at least, this will help you get sort of a image grab. Now, actually, what I want to do is I want to make it a little bit bigger, like this, and we'll just see if this works actually. So what I want to do is I want to make this into looking something like wool. So I will go into Google's AI Studio. It's called AI Studio, and I've put the link on the Miro board. I will make sure to have selected Try Nana Banana, which is the image front, and somehow, yeah, you can see here that I pressed something else. But if I press this one, I've selected Nana Banana. Actually, this one is free. There is going to be, it's going to be saying something about number of tokens up here, and that's sort of the limit of number of tokens that you have in one chat. But if you make a new chat, then it will just reset. And the reason why it says 11 tokens right now is because it actually already have some text here. You'll see that if I delete this, it's not going to change actually. Yes, it is. So now, no, there is no. If I press this, you'll probably see here now it says 4 tokens because it kind of reckons that this is 4 different letters. So what I want to do now is I just want to create a picture of a wool bale. So I want my word that says organic to look like it's made from wood. From wool. So, and yes. Now that's actually not exactly what I wanted, but maybe we'll see if this works actually. A wool bale on a white background. So what I really want here is I want a picture of wool that I can use to sort of put on the other one. So as soon as I have something, I'm trying to get sort of a blocky feel because I have blocky letters. So I could try and see if this works, but I'll just try and see actually what this looks like. If I take this one and then I'll say upload file, and I will just check on my desktop because this is where I left this word organic here. So I will just press this one here, and then I'll say make the wool bale into the word organic as in the below. And let's just see how that works. So hopefully what will happen is that it will take this picture and make it into the letters of wool. Let's see what happens here. So maybe it doesn't work. Maybe I need a different picture. We'll see. So let's see here. It actually did a pretty good job making it look like exactly like that wool bale, and I'm actually pretty happy with it as it is. So yeah, I think I'm actually going to run with it as it is. I could say try more wool and print on fabrics. So because there is some kind of prime merino Australian wool there, I really like that. But you'll see that there is actually, so it kind of looks, oh, it says some kind of internal error. So okay, make the word more like the wool bale. So this is just me actually trying to see what happens if I make it look a little bit more like the wool bale. Well, I was actually quite happy with it, as it were. So I'm just gonna go and see what happens here. Yeah, that's not better actually. So I'm just going to go back to this one. I'm going to press download, and now I have this image here that is my sort of my word. And now I'm going to go into Photoshop, because in Photoshop I'm going to create and you can use both this, and you can also use another version of Photoshop, or the beta version. It really doesn't matter for this. I will just say new file here. And of course, this is only if you have Photoshop installed at the moment. If not, then you can use something else. But the really cool thing about using Photoshop in this case here is that I can say import. No, place embedded. So in Photoshop, I can when I open up Photoshop, it's similar to Illustrator in that there is these different things that's going on. This is actually the file name and everything like that. So what I want to do here is I want to find in my things here, I have my word organic, and I will just place this somewhere, let's just say here. And I'm now going to use generative fill to sort of remake the rest of this image. I'm also going to remove some of these things down here that I feel like make it look like it's snow. So I'm actually just going to use my marquee tool here, which is the square tool here, and I'm just going to make sure that it kind of overlaps this image just a little bit. Then I can press generative fill, and when I press generative fill, if I don't write anything, it's going to take this part of the image as part of the prompt. So I can just say generate, and you can actually see that I managed to do this before, but it's going to do it again. So in this case, it's actually going to do a really good job of doing this. If I go down here, it will show me different versions of this, but I think I prefer this one here. So I'm also going to go in here and use my polygon lasso here. I'm just gonna go in here and look and say In this case here, I'm actually just going to select all of these things and say generative fill and say generate. So it will generate something that kind of removes. Again, if I don't write anything, it assumes that I'm going to remove whatever is in that picture, but leave things that kind of relate to things that was there before. In this case, the palette here will probably just be fine. Let's see how it does. Okay, that's actually perfect. So the last thing I want to remove is this Gemini logo here, which I don't feel really I need here, so I'm just gonna remove that one. And then for the last part, I'm just going to take this and say generative fill, generate. So you'll see here down in my layers menu that I am actually creating a lot of layers that are all generative. Now, in theory, these are all independent, but since I have done stuff to the image, and it's always a good idea to sort of, at some point at least, consider that these are sort of dependent on each other. So for instance, if I was to close this one, you'll see that it maybe some of it is kind of overlapping with the other ones here. So but this is actually pretty cool. This is what I wanted. This word organic is now on this plate here. And what I want now is to bring from my Illustrator this logo that I created earlier on. I'm actually just going to select it and press Command C. Again, I could export it and import it, but in this case here, I just want to bring it in. So I'm just going to say Command V when I'm in Photoshop. And now I get the option as to how I want to place it. And in this case here, I really do want to place it as a smart object, because that means that it will refer back to my Illustrator file. So I'm just gonna place this one here. Actually, I forgot one thing when doing this, and I'm just gonna add that little piece here. So I'm just gonna delete this, and in my Illustrator file, I'm just going to add the word northerly. And because I think this looks pretty cool, I'm actually going to take this and add a stroke so that it's a little bit more fat. And now you'll note that these two are actually in two different colors, which is perhaps not what I want, but I can change it in here in Illustrator, but I can also do something in Photoshop with this, which is actually what I'm going to do. So I could actually just do it here. I can go in here and I can say that the stroke color here is if I double click on this with the question marks here, I get this these different colors here, and if I choose this one here, the black, it will just be the same as my typing here. So I can take this way. I actually think that this should go just a little bit to the side. Yes, that looks better. So I'll just take this, press Command C, and then I'll go back to my Photoshop document, and I will place this again as a smart object, and now I have this logo here. So I could put it in like this, and I would be done. So I'm actually going to do it in a little bit more fancy way this time here. I'm just gonna stretch it out a little bit, and this is just me being a little bit more artistic. You don't have to do this. So I will choose a different blend mode here, saying multiply instead, and then I will just set the opacity to be a little bit lower, because then it will blend a little bit more with the poster, I think. Okay, so that was my brand poster, my poster that kind of says organic. It looks like it was made from a bale of wool, and I think actually this looks pretty good. So all I have to do now is I have to go in here and I have to export it. I could export it as a JPG or PNG, which is both flat layer formats. If yours says JPG here, you can just do that. Otherwise, you can use this one. It really doesn't matter. If you say export as, you will change the preference, and then that's what it's going to be next time. So I'm just going to use this one here for mine, and then say mine is going to go here, and it's going to say value poster. And then I'm going to go onto my mirror board, and I'm just going to upload the value poster over here, which is where you will see it. I'll do the upload folder here. If this one is not available for you, you can always find it down here under tools and media, and it will be available somewhere in here. And now you can say upload my device, and then it should be here in the folder that you put it in. Mine is here. So feel free when you're doing this to try out making different versions here. This is not about being perfect logo, but it would be nice to see some different words, some different expressions here. Try out and see if you can make it work, and what might be difficult for you to get to work here. So this is actually just going to be my poster here, and I would love to see what yours look like when you upload them. Make sure to upload them in your folder like this. That means that we can go and check them later on. Thank you very much.